Hello, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks, it almost feels like, since I've gone live on here. So I just wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to Sabby Sabs. That's at Sabby Sabs 2. Sabrina, who just invited me onto her YouTube channel to talk about whole Washington. Um, and so that was really, really awesome. And that will be posting sometime tomorrow. So she will share that out on at Sabby Sabs 2. Uh, and so watch out for that. And let's see, what did I want to say about that? She had very, very good questions. I thought that I felt nervous. I do sometimes, but the more of these things that we do, the less nervous, hopefully, that we get. And ultimately, the most important thing to cover there, because she had done her research and looked at the website and had really, really excellent questions. And one thing that I definitely didn't neglect to mention was that people obviously can get all there's a on sort of about us or on information. It's really easy to find on wholewashington.org. Is there's a most commonly asked questions and answers section, and so every single question. Well, I think if there's a question that you have that is not answered on that, obviously please email Whole Washington and let them know what your question is, and if you don't see the answer to a question that you have up there on that Q&A section. But I think they've done a very, very good job putting everything up there. So if there is something on that interview that I didn't answer adequately, just remember you can go to wholewashington.org and find a ton of very easily accessible information on how it's funded, how and why is it going to save money. But I think I answered all of her questions, so that was exciting. I got a little bit sick, so I had to take some time off, and so I haven't been as active on Twitter or on YouTube. But the other thing to mention on here that I mentioned in the title is that the ballot initiative, Whole Washington's ballot initiative, has been filed. And so now the only thing that we're waiting on is it's pending approval by Secretary of State. And then what they do then is they assign a ballot initiative number, and then we can go to print with it. So it will be, what was I just going to look up? Whole Washington's announcement tweet. So I could just go ahead and read that to all of you. Yeah, we've got a graphic and everything. So if you want to go and help spread the word, you can go right to Whole Washington's. That's at Whole Washington. Go to their pinned tweet, and you'll see that there's a graphic there that says just filed. Whole Washington has filed an initiative for universal health care. Volunteer to collect signatures for healthcare justice. wholewashington.org/volunteer. That's the graphic. Yeah, and it says signature collection starts in May. So we're here. We've got a couple more weeks, or not even quite that, to go. And yeah, we're going to need to be getting out there. And I think what I've committed to personally is at least 2 shifts per week. And we'll see how we go. But basically, each of the shifts, I'll commit to 100 signatures. And I will just be going out where there's foot traffic. So I'll be out at probably, my local Walmart, because some stores will let you gather signatures out front, Trader Joe's, Walmart. Somebody had an interesting idea about going and gathering outside the DMV, because there's always new people constantly, and a stream of new people going in to renew and get their licenses and stuff. So, and then there will be people collecting signatures on on ferries. And I mean, it's nice weather now. So anywhere where people go and congregate, it's just really a matter of putting in the work. We can't, a ballot initiative won't get done through Twitter. I will try to keep everybody updated and posted as to our progress. I'll try to do, a few little live streams out as I get set up and stuff. And the advice that I have to signature gatherers, to people who are here in Washington State, or people who can afford to come up for a weekend or a week to help us gather signatures, would be you just want to, it's just a numbers game. We definitely can't, and nor would we want to waste time engaging with people who have a lot of argument towards it. It's very simple. It's just we assigned to get universal health care to the Washington ballot, and let's take it to the people and have a vote on this. That's even too long. Signed to put universal health care on the ballot. If they're up for it, they're going to sign that immediately. If they're not, and they're into all kinds of, if it's a quick question, you can answer it. But otherwise, if you recognize that somebody's wanting to get into engaging with arguing about that, we're not at the point where we want to engage and spend a lot of time on that. It would just very simply be, thank you for your time, sir. If you have any questions about how it's funded, or any of that stuff, please visit wholewashington.org. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Give them the resource and send them on their way. Anyone who's really kind of going to start getting engaged in arguing about it, I would just say it's not even worth doing that. That actually, you'll have 6 or 7 people walk past you in the time that you're engaging with somebody who wants to kind of just get into that. And it's like, we're past the debate. We know we need it. Here it is. If you want details on the initiative, how it's funded, how are we going to pay for that? Am I going to be able to keep my, if you have any of these questions, go to wholewashington.org. Everything is answered very, very clearly. Thank you. Because you can't afford to have 6 or 10 or 15 people walk past you. You need those signatures. We don't have time to convince people. So those people that are on the fence about it or want to take a lot of time, we just simply don't have it. When you're out gathering for an initiative, you need numbers. And so it's not about sitting there and wasting 20 or 30 minutes or even 5 minutes talking to somebody. And I don't mean to say it's a waste or whatever, but it's very easy to just give them the resource, let them know, and then they can go on and do their own research. Another thing that I will typically say if somebody's like, well, I have questions about that, it's just like, of course, yes, we would expect that. And we hope that you do go and get your questions answered. This is not saying that you will absolutely support it. It's saying, let's get it to the ballot and have a vote on it. But again, the overwhelming majority of people know that we need this. So it's just a matter of asking them for their signature. And there we go. So I don't really know that there's anything else that I have to say about that other than, I guess I'm kind of just enjoying the calm before the storm because a ballot initiative moves very, very quickly into just, you need to be out. You need to be out. You need to be gathering. If people that are nervous about it, it doesn't take some of the quietest people are the best at this. I want to say there's this volunteer who gathered signatures for Whole Washington I-1600 named Linda. I'll leave her last name off of this now just in case she wouldn't want it broadcast. But I think she gathered something like 30,000 signatures. I don't know if it's 20,000, 30,000. And I watched this woman in action. There was one, only because she didn't live near me, so I didn't really gather with her, but there was one event. It was a rise and organize. It was a vote blue, no matter, that kind of a thing. And of course, whole Washington, were we invited inside to go table or have, there was plenty of space inside this whole thing. It was in 2018, and Keith Ellison was coming out to do, kind of this. I would not have gone to it, but I did want to hear Keith Ellison speak. And I thought, well, there's going to be lots and lots of people coming to this who probably would definitely be supportive and want to sign this ballot initiative. So, but it was a horrible, rainy, crummy day outside. I could have definitely and was quite frustrated that, we went inside and said, hey, could we bring our petition boards in and just have a little space at a table so we can be out of the rain? Oh, no, we're sorry. We're not doing any. And it's like, that's always the way, even at these Democrat things, the people that are working for the platform, by the way, universal health care is on the Washington State Democrat platform. So one would think that we would be invited inside out of the rain, but that's not ever how it works. There's never any solidarity for people actually working on these issues. So I could complain till the cows come home about that, but it is nevertheless the case. But back to Linda, she wasn't bothered about it. But what she was doing is working 3 or 4 different petition boards, and a lot of people came to this. So she was getting, if a group of like 5 or 6 people came up, she had a board for each one of them. And just to kind of listen to how she asked, it was very, she's very quiet, and it was really non-obtrusive, and it was just a simple sign to get universal health care on the ballot. We signed to get universal health care on the ballot. It was just, it kind of, I think she just has like this like non-obtrusive quality about her. And not all of us can do that. Some of us come on a little bit more strong, and that maybe pushes, you can't help your personality. You just got to do the best that you can, but short and simple is better. And, you can't ever tell who's going to sign it and who's going to support it. Sometimes you start to think that, that you can judge by how people look. But hi, David, it's really great to see you too. I don't know how long ago you commented that. I wasn't looking over there, but great to see you too. So yeah, I would just say definitely if there's anyone in Washington State who sees this, or people in Washington State, or you want to come up, just be in touch with the organizers, and we'll, if there's people that want to travel here and want to help us out for a weekend or a week, come to the whole Washington meeting and get connected up, and we'll either help you out with accommodate you. We'll find somebody who you can stay with, or help you out, like to give you like as reasonable. I'm sure it can be the same way as with Bernie Journeys, that we try to help people out. If somebody contacted me and say, hey, I'd love to just be able to come up to Washington State and gather signatures for 5 or 6 days, I have some place. I can't house everybody in the whole United States, but, like be in touch and be like, hey, I really want to help with this effort. And that is amazing. And by the way, I wanted to say, David, that I received an email from the Washington People's Party, and they made an announcement and said the initiative's been filed. And, so People's Party of Washington State is very much like on the ball. They are watching, they are involved. And by the way, at our event in Tacoma, our sit-in, it was actually like the majority of the berets donations, or people that bought red berets and donated that day, were actually people showing up from the People's Party. So how cool is that? And so, yeah. And so I just want to really convey to people, if you haven't gathered signatures before, and if you have people that are nervous about it, I need to be back in touch with, I need to go to the People's Party of Washington, like back to one of their regular meetings, and let them know, like, if they have any questions at all, I would be happy to do I don't know. I don't really know if I'm up, to train people, but certainly if people want to come along and if they are in my area and if they feel nervous and they've never gathered signatures before, then I would be very happy to go out and meet up with people and just like, because sometimes it does help to go out in numbers. It helps if there people legitimately are like, hey, I want to help, but I feel like anxiety about approaching people and asking. This is completely all normal. I just want people to understand that it is, and I probably even have a little bit of nerves about going out. I haven't done this since 2018, but I'm gonna just go and jump right in. And but for example, Carlene, who is a local nurse here, she's a little bit more shy about it, and she comes out with me, um, or she will come out with me. She came out and helped with things like with Bernie. She hasn't gathered signatures for Whole Washington yet because she didn't know about Whole Washington. We got connected up through Bernie's campaign. And that's how she found out about the Red Berets. And then that I told her about Whole Washington, and now she'll be coming out and helping to gather signatures as her work schedule permits. But I just really want people to understand, there are lots of ways if you're otherly abled and not able to get out of the house and gather signatures. Don't feel that there aren't other ways that you can help, because there are. And certainly wholewashington.org is how you can find out what you can be doing. But we do need people as they are able to push themselves out into their outside of their comfort zone. Gathering signatures for a ballot initiative does. I mean, I get a little anxiety even as I'm talking about it, because it's not so easy to go out and talk to strangers and ask to ask, because there's this like, oh, are they gonna yell at me? Are they going to be nasty to me? It's sometimes, let's just face it, even if you think nothing bad's going to happen, it just is hard to ask people, will you sign this? Because you have to face the it's just hard to ask for stuff. It really is for a lot of people. But I would say there's safety in numbers, so get yourself a canvas, a signature gathering buddy and go out together. Pair yourself up with somebody who is like, what do we have to lose? We need healthcare, right? And you will develop, not a thicker skin, but just like you get used to that just constant stream of, you'll get everything from, yes, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, and they can't get the pen out of your hand fast enough. And then with those type of people, I'm definitely going to say, don't ever be a movement builder. At the same time, don't let that person that's super excited to sign the initiative come and grab that and then walk away from you. Definitely say, can you please, do you think you could gather, take a petition and gather 20 signatures? Do you think you have 20 friends and family? Please sign up to be a volunteer on wholewashington.org. You know what I mean? So it's like, don't let that be a wasted opportunity. Everybody who is excited to sign the petition should be immediately converted into, they can get 20, because you can see how 400,000 signatures, if we had 500 dedicated volunteers, is a really tall order. It's like kind of, oh my gosh, can we do this? But the second that we're out in that first couple of weeks, we should be increasing our volunteer base and bringing people into the fold. We don't have a lot of media on this because media just doesn't want to cover it. They don't. So we can't even get our progressive media. It's not even, I'm going to say they're not very progressive if they won't cover this, but we can't get The Stranger, out of Seattle so far. They didn't cover our bill. I hope they cover our initiative. But there's just a lot of people who are not going to know about this until they see people out gathering signatures. So we really need to look at every single person as not just a signature. That person can be in the movement, and even if they, at least, and if they say, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to have any time to gather any signatures," just impress upon them, well, please go and sign up on wholewashington.org, because there are little things that you can do even if you don't have the time to gather. Now, see, I would take the extra time to convey that to people. That's a little bit different, because when you're talking about increasing the volunteer base, that is in my opinion is worth investing the time in. If it's, but again, if it's somebody's like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna, okay, thank you so much for signing, have an excellent day. And so yeah, that's just some tips that I have so far. Is just go where there's a high volume of people, and find what works. It should just take trying a few different places, and you kind of find your groove, and going out with a friend is helpful, so that you don't feel too overwhelmed or nervous or any of that stuff. But it is something that you do get used to. You do occasionally get that kind of person who is, it was rare. It was rare to get the kind of response from, yeah, what are you trying to do? And then you just say, thank you, have a good day. And you just try to let that kind of stuff roll off your back, because for everybody that you get that is adversarial to this, and you just politely wish them a good day and they'll move on along. But when they are of really strong opinion and kind of loud about it, it is off-putting. But just remember, for every person that you have like that, you're going to have 20 other people who are like, this is amazing, I'm so excited, heck yeah, I'll sign that. So it really is just about getting out. And I think just, when you're out and thinking about this entire year in Washington State, you should never be anywhere without your petition board and without a few extra petitions. That's really the number one rule. Let's see, we should get our New Jersey chapter out there. Yeah, right. Yeah, so you should never really be caught. You should always have a petition board, and that's why it's good to always have a couple of them. And you should have one in your car, kind of like you always bring your reusable bag somewhere. It should be in your car, because you just never know when you stop, and if you're always just thinking, and then you pull up, and maybe you went to mail something at the post office. Now you can't gather right outside the post office, but maybe while you were waiting, you had a conversation with somebody, and you're like, yeah, we're running an initiative for universal health care. And somebody, oh my gosh, really? Oh yeah. And then you say, well, I have the petition right out in my car, would you like to sign it? So it's a matter of just understanding everywhere that you go. And if you're able to bring the subject up, if you have it available and with you in your car, or somewhere that's readily available, you can just ask people to sign it. So that's why I tell people, even if you're not going to be like a core volunteer that goes out 2 times, 3 times a week to gather 100 signatures, people do not need to be overwhelmed by that. But I want people to seriously consider, can you gather 20 signatures for universal health care this year? That's literally you asking your friends and maybe a coworker or two that you feel safe and comfortable because you already know how they feel about it. Could you walk down your block and get like 5 neighbors to sign it? 20 is seriously possible for everybody. Everybody can gather 20 signatures. I know if I can gather thousands and thousands of signatures, that every single person has the time over the course of 6 or 7 months to gather 20. So this is a question that everybody needs to be telling their friends. I'm going to get 20. Maybe I'll get more than that if I find out that it's just not so bad, but I am going to pledge to at least collect 20 signatures. And I know I can tell my close friends, hey, can you also get 20 signatures? If I tell my 3 friends, please gather 20 signatures, look what you just did. Every single person has the capacity to grow this exponentially, to where we're now not looking at 500 or 1,000 volunteers. We've just absolutely grown this exponentially. And the other thing that you all can keep doing is just look, Sabrina Sabby Sabs had seen this all over social media, and she got curious about it, and she reached out, which is completely awesome. And now her audience, her YouTube subscribers and followers are going to know about Whole Washington, and this kind of solidarity strategy of we're always organizing at the state level and pushing for it at the national level. It's not one or the other, it's a simultaneous approach. So, yeah, well, it's been a little while since I've kind of, and I happen to know that there is something else to do with the documentary that's very exciting. So I would be watching Kenny Ballantyne's feed over the next day or two, because there is another very exciting interview that's going to be coming out and posted. But I never really know. I don't want to announce stuff that's his stuff to do, but I'm just saying that there's something else exciting coming up on that front. And then he also had made a tweet, Kenny Ballantyne did. Let me find this because I really like this tweet a lot. Of course I do, because it has to do with, what did he say? Yeah, so he retweeted, it's time for healthcare transformation. Signatures start in May. So he retweeted Whole Washington's pinned tweet with, it doesn't matter what state you are from. Please join me in helping at Whole Washington open the floodgates. I'll be heading to Washington to help collect signatures this summer. Will you? Hashtag healthcare for all. So that is exactly it. So if people can help spread this message, and again, I don't mean to be like, oh, we can't do this in Washington state alone. We do have a lot of dedicated organizers. And I think that even the people that haven't been very active in volunteer meetings or on social media, the ones that were really dedicated in 2018, as soon as it's go time again, they're going to come out of the woodwork. And we have done nothing but build up the organization and gained more volunteers since 2018. So I think, it's totally possible. But at the same time, I probably because of knitting these for National Improved Medicare for All, I have an investment in wanting this to expand much beyond the Washington state borders, because I do feel that this is really, we want an investment from the rest of the country. This is a time investment. The way that I see this is a time investment that is not just for Washington state. When I go out and gather signatures, it's to have a win for the movement. It's to help open the floodgates. It's to show other states that have the ability to run ballot initiatives. Hey, we're doing this here. Like, you can get on board and do something like this in your own state. Let's show everybody this is possible, because I think right now we have had a depressed, maybe I should speak for myself, but I do feel that the progressive movement has gotten quite kind of like depressed, and is there anybody still fighting? We couldn't force the vote. We just need we need a huge uptick in energy. And certainly when the People's Party has their national founding convention, later on this year, I think it's in September, that's going to be very, very exciting. And there's different things that will be happening that are exciting. But one of the things that we need in order to have a movement, you have to have movement. And that's what a ballot initiative does. And we need people to move out of their place of kind of collapse and, the establishment really came in and kicked the knees out from under us in a certain sense. Let's not try to pretend otherwise. It was a devastating loss. Maybe there were plenty of people who didn't think there was a good chance to begin with, and then you had certain idealists who thought that there was. When we don't have any hope, we do definitely have some people who think that hope is a dangerous thing. We have succeeded in movements because people had drive and determination and hope, and they stood together. And you look at things historically, and it is possible. So I every time when I mail some of these berets off to Eastern Washington, or I see pictures of people receiving a red beret that Georgia Davenport has mailed out to them, I feel really excited about it because there's this connectivity to it. Somebody has put a little bit of their hard-earned money towards a handcrafted red beret that took some hours to create. And now you have sponsored 6 or 800 signatures, because the pages to print these, they have to be union printed, are $1 a piece or something around like that, and they hold 20 signatures a piece. So yeah, it it is something that people can do, and the more that people hear, hey, here I am in North Carolina or Ohio or New Jersey or wherever you're at, there might be a state effort that's you might get some people together and use whole Washington as a model, exactly as David is saying on here, and that would be fantastic, because the more that the insurance lobby and pharma have to kind of divide and conquer, have to split their resources among lots of different states trying to do this, that's better for us. Equally, it's been said by some single payer Medicare for all proponents and organizers that actually, in order to safely and successfully run a state ballot initiative, you should have $5 million in the bank. Who has $5 million? Like, we just have to let go of some of these old models, these the theories of change, and here's what is necessary for that. Nothing is necessary to fight for Medicare for all besides showing up. That's what's necessary. And if we don't gather 400,000 signatures, don't let people run the tired, ridiculous narrative that somehow we have undermined the single payer Medicare for all movement by trying something in Washington state. The only thing that undermines the movement is undermining the movement. The only thing that actually undermines the single payer movement is people gatekeeping and giving up and pouring water on good grassroots efforts. If somebody is willing to get out there and say, you know what, we don't have a lot of money, but we have some red berets, and we have some people that are willing to knit and crochet and donate their work, so that some other person that doesn't have a lot of time, but they want to help, so they order a red beret, and suddenly we have how many empty petitions that we can go get signatures on? I'm not going to hear any of this nonsense that's been peddled by good organizations and good people within these organizations for multiple decades now, which is like that if you don't have this amount of money, or if you do a ballot initiative and it fails, then it potentially undermines the movement. What you just did right there, if you said that, is you undermined the movement. Telling people you shouldn't be out there organizing a march for Medicare for all. Where do we start? What is enough money to start to do this? Well, we do actually need to print petitions. So, that's why I'm on here advocating that people throw in $2 or $3 a month, or throw in $10 a month, or reach out to 2 or 3 friends that you can say, hey, I'm on a really limited income here, and really honestly, all I can afford to do is donate $5 a month to Whole Washington, or whatever. But maybe you can donate that too, or you can do what you can do. Do you see what I'm saying? So literally, people can be a donor of $1 a month, and that's what different candidates have done, right? Is they've said, you can support my candidacy by just doing $1, recurring donation a month, and that means a lot. Well, it means the same thing for whole Washington, because if you donated $1, you just printed one petition, which now I get to go out and it's going to take me a few minutes to fill up that petition. That $1 is going to take, I'm going to take that down to Walmart, and that might take me 15 or 20, 25 minutes to fill that up, right? So you see how this is a collective effort. Somebody's $1 and then my time that I'm going to go. So look at that. If you're able to do a small dollar donation, and then you have some of us who are like, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to gather these petitions, and I'm going to knit some red berets that somebody is going to hopefully order to help us fund this. And I'm also going to chip in because we need universal health care. But not everybody can help on all of those fronts. Some people cannot help financially, so they can help by donating their time. And some people cannot travel across the United States to help whole Washington, so they can help on social media, and they can tell, telling people personally, thank you. Yeah, this beret I knit and felted, and I think I've been told, no, never mind. That's a big old long story. I like the felted ones too. My husband's like, I don't like them as well when they're felted, Laura, because the stitches kind of disappear. But I'm like, I kind of like it. So I knit this one for Kenny Valentine, and here I am wearing it. But I'll mail it to him. And now I'm working on. This is what I have on the needles right now. It's kind of a fun pattern. I just challenge myself to different patterns, but I really just want people to understand that this is like, there's a lot of moving pieces to achieving something like universal health care in even one state. But if we all work together, if somebody knows a crafter and they go tell their aunt or their cousin or whoever it is that crafts, hey, these crafters are having a hard time keeping up. Will you knit or crochet 5 or 10 of these, or 2 or 3 of these, or one, and then mail it on to them. And then they're supporting the USPS, because we're sending these out via the USPS, and you can help universal health care. You can basically help us print quite a few pages that hold 20 signatures each, right? So some people have a little bit of money that they can spare, and that's how they can help, because we are people powered, but we do actually have to print the petitions. And ideally, unless we just get a massive amount of people, and I think with this healthcare justice documentary, I think number one, that stands to, Ryan Knight's video, his video clip has somewhere around close to 65, maybe it's even over 65,000 views on the Twitter video. He has it still as his pinned tweet. That is really, really incredible. There was a lot of viewership on all of the different things, but obviously, Ryan has a really big following. It's how Kenny ended up hearing about whole Washington and the Red Berets, is because he was listening to Ryan Knight's podcast, and he heard me speaking on there, and suddenly he reached out saying, this is a really incredible idea. I want to hear all about whole Washington and the Red Berets. And so suddenly I think, people get very excited, as well they should, about the documentary. But Kenny says, well, it's not the documentary, it's what it's about. It's so if I can be of help and of service to that, and helping point some eyes and some media attention onto Washington State, this is where the revolution is happening. And it's so we've said in recent interviews on the Vanguard, and just any place that we get the opportunity, we it's not that whole Washington, it's not that New York Health Campaign or CalCare or anything like that are not going to be covered or receive a boost from this. He really wants to hear from lots and lots of different voices, including, like, he's going to be going and interviewing Dr. Joe Jarvis in Utah, who is a conservative. So the point is, he wants it to be as far reaching and as inclusive of a documentary as possible. But yeah, um, yeah, but I guess that I lost my train of thought a little bit there, but yeah, I think that that is going to help us enormously, because it's just very difficult to get people. For some reason, it's difficult to get even progressive media interested in a single state initiative, and it probably because I think this has just been the mindset for so long has been, well, we need it at the national level, we all need it. Well, I hope that people are beginning to um, understand. Again, it's not that it's like with this march for Medicare for all. I march for it's I forget what the Twitter handle is, but the organizer from New York State and his team of people, and now there's a march that's going to be happening in LA, and now we're going to hold one. It's either going to be on the 24th or on a nearby date here in Washington State. So there will be three allied marches for Medicare for all. So don't take it the wrong way. I'm not saying that we stop advocating for this at the national level. We have to keep pushing for it. We absolutely have to. And that's why I was such a staunch supporter of Force the Vote, is because I understand that progressives we don't have the voting block that we need, but we did have the voting block to use our leverage, but that was not used. And again, not to go back and relitigate that, but it's just the point that, well, when are we going to see um, why are we going to not demand this just because we have a president who said he'd veto it? That's we and so we the people have to rise up. We have to put. It's like I put out a tweet when Whole Washington said that they made a tweet saying that they are very excited to support and partner with the March for M4A and organize a partner event. And they support good grassroots efforts. And I went along behind that and said it would be really amazing to see, National Nurses United, Healthcare for All Now, PNHP, and listed off a bunch of these, and Our Revolution, and a lot of these bigger organizations that have enormous databases. Let's be honest. So, at what point are we going to see, the tide? We we need to see more solidarity for the grassroots. If somebody is a new organizer like Sharif, who he got organized and activated through Force the Vote, and he's now saying we need to march for Medicare for all, and I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to step up to the plate and go to Washington D.C. and file, and get the permits for the march and do all the things that need to happen for that. Well, what about these organizations that have like tons and tons of people in their database and who know how to organize? Is there any solidarity for a new organizer who doesn't have a big database and doesn't have a ton of resources, but certainly has the passion and the dedication to say, I'm willing to step up to the plate? But I can really resonate with him because when I first started knitting these, I wasn't connected up with Whole Washington. I wasn't connected up with the movement. I had supported Bernie, but I wasn't on like social media or anything. And I just started like knitting these saying, and then making these random posts saying, when are we marching for Medicare for all? Knit for nurses and the 99%, right? That was my messaging. But literally people were liking it, but they weren't supporting it. And to this day, National Nurses does not. I'm followed back, by Bonnie Costello, and there's been individual organizers who are excited about the Red Berets, and certainly some people from California who have ordered some and supported. And so I'm not saying this to like undermine those organizations. But they could be sending out an email to their base saying, anybody want to help out Washington State? They're running another initiative, and I know they're trying to raise some money for this ballot initiative. And it might be the time, the people power hopefully is growing. So, you know, we can just keep working on growing the people power. And then it's another thing that people can do to keep asking on social media to progressive independent media, please invite whole Washington on. Please interview people about whole Washington, so that people can continue to ask independent media. But we are getting more of that. So and we had some a pretty good shout out from Jimmy Dore and of course, Justin Jackson's The Takeover, and he's been really, really strongly supportive of the one payer, the state by state strategy. So, we have some voices and some media that are starting to Ron Placone, people that are showing up to help on this front now, and I'm super grateful about that. And I think the more that we just kind of keep growing the solidarity, the better it will be for all of us. And but I had gone through a period where I was you know starting to get down and out and sad and quite frankly a little depressed about it, because I felt like I had been asking on Twitter for a really long time for people to please pay attention and help whole Washington. Well, and then finally, the People's Party comes along and says, we want to partner with whole Washington. We want whole Washington to be the standard for how we're going to organize our healthcare justice platform and how people can organize with growing their individual state party apparatus. So that is hugely helpful. And moving forward, as we get going with candidates, that's going to be something where those efforts can be tied together, and they should be tied together. If I had I'm not going to run, but if I had a People's Party candidate here that I could get out and support, and I know that they're going to out, and I know that they're going to be out supporting whole. That's kind of my litmus test here in Washington State. If somebody is a candidate and they're running on Medicare for all, I need to see some whole Washington from them, because we can no longer afford to just have candidates that are so careful that they're like, okay, well, I'm running for federal office, so I'm going to stay away from this. You see, I support Jason Call, even as he's running as a Democrat. For right now, because he walks the walk. But there are very few Democrat candidates that I'm going to come out and support anymore, just because I'm pretty done. Me personally, I can only take, I think when a party shows you as clearly as the Democratic Party has and continues to show us that they are not interested in representing us, they're interested in obstructing our platform, and they're interested in making sure that Medicare for All is not even on their platform. I can't personally understand why there are still people willing to fight for that party. It's time for a new party, and I definitely wholeheartedly support and endorse that. But I'm just somebody who doesn't waste a lot of time undermining people's different approaches, and that's why the Red Berets works for me. A local Democrat, somebody who messaged me on social media, and he is like the vice chair of his local Democrats, and he reached out and messaged, I think I need a couple of these Red Berets, and we got our local LD to endorse whole Washington, and I want to have a couple of Red Berets to wear to my meetings. See, I'm not going to be undermining that person's approach. Here he is, wanting to wear a red beret to his Democrat meeting, and got whole Washington endorsed there at the local thing. That's what we need, is the solidarity of the people power. If you're still up for doing stuff within your local Dems, and you can get them to take some petitions and get universal health care to the ballot, and that is how you are organizing, I'm not going to spend my time attacking that. I personally have spent enough time at Democrat meetings to just be completely done with it. That's not how I would rather be knitting for the cause. I would rather be out, helping a People's Party candidate that's for Medicare for all, because I just don't personally want to organize for a party that spends so much energy stopping the progressive agenda. That doesn't make sense to me. But However people are organizing, if it's for, universal health care, then, that's really what the idea of the Red Berets is, to try to keep some semblance of solidarity, because there's going to be people who are wanting to be in a different part, not in People's Party, but in organizing for the Green Party, or, other socialist parties, or whatever the thing. So the thing with the Red Berets is the solidarity of the platform. And, right now, 98% of my energy is going to go towards Whole Washington, because, as I'm going to say over and over again, Whole Washington is my candidate. And if passed, it's going to do what it says it's going to do. So, yeah, thank you for letting me ramble on for such a little while. And, yeah, DM me whatever you got. And, yeah, I'm gonna log off of here. But thanks for joining, and we will talk to you all soon. And let's keep up the good fight, and keep up the positivity. It gets tough sometimes. We all are going to have like low moments where we wonder, like, is anything of this possible? Oh, hi, March for M for All. Yeah, we were talking about that quite a few. I've mentioned the march like quite a few times on this lengthy live feed. And I also know that Sharif wants me to interview, and I would love to interview him on here. He's going to have to be patient with how terrible I am with, like, I kind of tried uploading a video and I suck at it so much. So I don't know. I might be up for getting some tutorial advice, because I really would like to interview people on my YouTube channel. I know it'll grow a lot faster that way if I actually am not just doing long monologues, but sometimes I'm pretty resistant to learning. So, I mean, it's one of those things that it's going to happen when it happens. And it already took quite a bit to get me onto YouTube and to get me to figure out how to do this much. So I have to take baby steps, and, it could be that I figure out how to do it. And, because I'd really like to be able to, help promote the March for M4A, both the main Washington, D.C. one, and also what's happening in L.A. and what we're going to be planning here in Washington State. And I want to, and the same thing, I want to have people on from People's Party who are, wanting to talk about stuff, everything that's Medicare for All related. But I won't be kind of pushed faster than I'm able to do. But I really do need somebody to show me kind of how to do it. I'm pretty sure it's very, very simple to just record via Zoom and then upload the video. But I tried. I did like a little interview with local crafter Sarah Hansen, and it didn't record, and I don't know how to upload it. And it's just a technical thing. So have some patience with me, because that is what I'd like to do with this channel, is have have people doing on here how to do that. Oh, you know how to do it? Okay. Yeah. So, well, we'll get together and we'll figure it out then, David, because that would be really awesome to have some people on here to talk about things. And of course, I'm going to be talking a heck of a lot on here about Whole Washington's ballot initiative efforts. But I would like to have other Washington State organizers and anyone else that is not in Washington State that has things that they want to share on here. But thanks for joining for today. And yeah, I'm really excited about the upcoming march and supporting that. And I think it's about a 75% chance at this rate that I will be personally attending the DC march. I had a local Washington organizer reach out to me who said that she really wanted to go. She wanted a travel companion, and that's kind of perfect for me, because frankly, I'm a little bit nervous. I've never been to Washington, DC, and I didn't know about traveling on my own. But I think if she and I travel together, yeah. But now we have the added compounded problem of having said, oh, well, we are going to do a march here somebody has to organize the march here. So if I went off to Washington D.C., I have to make sure. And of course, Georgia's an excellent organizer, but she lives out in Eastern Washington, and I don't think. I mean, we could. I think probably when I think about it, I think the best place to probably have a march for Medicare for all would either be Seattle or down in our capital in Olympia. And so I'm thinking about who can I pull in to form a steering committee for ours, that would free me up to be able to go to DC, because I can't just kind of yeah. Um, so anyway, and I definitely think our revolution, Washington Bernie Crat Coalition, you know, talking to a few of them and seeing, and also too, it might be like the People's Party of Washington State wants to have what I did in 2018 for the on National Nurses Day for the March for Medicare for All that we did, is I put together a steering committee of like five of us or whatever, and I tried to pull from Courtney Love, who is the vice chair of our Revolution Bernie Crack Coalition, she was on the steering committee, and me representing Red Berets, and then we had John Adams, who was like on the healthcare committee of like he's a main kind of core member of Tacoma DSA, and then we had another person who has organized a lot within Green Party, and then let me think who else was on it. But I tried to kind of get people who all supported Medicare for all, but who were from different aspects of the movement, because I'm not interested in. That's what coalition building is bringing people in to where and if people can get along and organize and understand that you're bringing something together that is far transcendent of a particular party or a particular organization, you can put egos aside and say, we're here to get out together and march for Medicare for all. But because I'm not really particularly interested in one absolute organization, doing it. And hopefully whole Washington will be the main kind of organizers, but understanding too that I think that they need some help, and they have one single objective, and that is to gather as many signatures as we possibly can for that. So what would be really helpful is for me to try to put together some people who can help do some of the organizing work so that it doesn't all fall onto whole Washington. Whole Washington will commit to it, and but these are things that actual organizers need to do to line all this stuff up. So it won't do itself. I really wish it would, but it won't. So, but I would love to be in DC, and if I can get a travel companion, it might be pretty likely that I'll go and do that. But I don't want to just leave Washington State hanging when we need to do a partner event here. So we'll see who I can mobilize here and get in touch with, and anyway, all right, everybody have a good day. Thanks for joining, and take care.